Okay, so today we are going to talk about hips and how important they are in training, strength training, running, whatever you're doing. How important it is for them to be loose and mobile and ready for whatever you're going to put them through. Nick is going to demonstrate all of our movements. So we'll spend the next 30-45 minutes learning how to open your hips, and yeah, let's start. So Nick is going to start in a pose called Supta Baddha Konasana. By the way, we're doing hips in a kind of modern yoga fashion, if you haven't gathered that yet. So Nick is going to start lying on his mat, all the way down on his back. He is going to bring the soles of his feet together and just relax into this. Typically, we could just let gravity do the work and weigh his knees down towards the ground, but we're gonna make this a little more active so he can bring his hands as close to his knees as possible. And you don't need to push, you don't need to strain your upper body, just put an extra bit of little weight onto his legs to begin to open up his hips a bit more. He'll take a few rounds of breath here, really filling up, creating space in his body. And on his next inhale, he can bring his knees together and walk his feet out as wide as the edges of the mat, still keeping a bend in his knees. Bring a bigger bend in your knees, so walk your heels in a little bit more, perfect. And then he's just going to let his knees drop to the right side. You can try to keep your low back down on the mat here, but it might feel really nice in your hip flexor psoas region to let it come up and just feel that side body stretch as well. Again, he can stay right here, or he can make it a bit more active by bringing his right heel onto his left quad, knee, anywhere in that region, to put a little extra pressure on the hip to try to release some of that tension. He'll spend a round of breath or two here, and then bring his knees back through center, keeping that wide stance. And then his knees will fall to the other side of the mat. You'll want to do what you did on your right side to your left. So he'll bring his left heel onto his quad, onto his knee, wherever it feels comfortable for him, not causing any knee pain. And just breathe into that a bit. You can bring your knees back through center and just bring them into your chest. You can rock and roll side to side a little bit, give your low back some love. And then bring your hands behind your hamstrings just to rock up to seated. You can get that however you want. This is just the easiest way I found. And we will transition into frog pose. So you will come into a low squat, like your seat as close to the mat as you can get it, your feet wide and toes pointed out. Again, they could be about as wide as your mat here. What you could do is, you're at home, you could bring a couch cushion, you could bring a pillow, just something for a little added support under your seat. And then exactly as Nick is doing, you can start to bring your elbows into your knees to really open up your hips. And if you can sit more upright, if it's not excruciating on your hips, that's great. Otherwise, you can stay exactly here as you are. Get comfortable. This doesn't have to be extremely active. And when you've had enough there, you can step back to a high plank and run through high to low plank, or chaturanga as you'll hear me call it. And then you'll go to upward facing dog. Keep your legs off the ground and meet in downward facing dog. Here you are really going to focus on pushing your hips towards the ceiling, towards the sky. If you are participating outside, not so much sinking your heels towards the mat, which is the typical intention to feel a hamstring stretch. You can take a moment here, breathe into this. And then on your next inhale, lift your right leg high. You'll aim to point your toes down here to keep your hips level. So Nick, if you could demonstrate your hips not being level. Yeah, so his toes aren't pointed down. As soon as he points his toes down towards the mat, his hips start to level out, which is great. That's exactly what we want. On his next inhale, I'm gonna ask him to open up his hips. So still trying to keep them level, but just spiral open into like a scorpion type of position. Yeah. Your armpits will still face down towards the mat, but same thing here. You're gonna get like a deep hip flexor psoas stretch going on. And then you can return back to a three-legged dog, right leg in the air. And transition into a low lunge. So step your foot between your palms. Try to make that seamless and quiet. So here, we are going to make this active. So I'm gonna ask Nick to lift his hips and really focus on pressing through his back hamstring to feel this in his right hip. Take a few breaths here. On your next inhale, come up to warrior one. So first thing first, turn your back heel down to about 45 degrees. So really your toes should be facing the top left corner of your mat. Yeah, beautiful. You'll keep about a 90-degree bend in your knee, but wherever you're at, totally fine. And you'll start with your arms overhead. So the goal here is, and obviously you won't have someone making these adjustments at your house, but the goal here is to really be able to like turn your hips towards the wall in front of you. That might take some adjusting coming in and out of this. And then you'll transition to warrior two. So then you can turn your back heel down to 90 degrees, exactly as it is. And we're gonna focus on the front hip here a lot. So you'll tuck your pelvis immediately. Nick's already is, it's great. And try to make this 90-degree bend with your knee. What you could do next is start to rotate your knee out towards the pinky edge of your foot, keeping square hips. That might not be accessible for everybody, but you'll really start to feel a stretch along the front of your hip. You'll take a few breaths here. And on your next inhale, straighten your front leg. We're transitioning into triangle pose. So first, safety is so important. Also, socks are not a great idea. Okay, great. So this is the beginning stage of our triangle pose. Before you do anything else, send your hips super far back and shift your torso forward. Reach, keep reaching forward. Beautiful. And then you can TikTok your arms to 6 and 12. The analogy here that is very effective is to imagine that you are being squeezed between two panes of glass, two pieces of flat wood. So you really should be in like one plane here. Then you can take an inhale, rise back up, bring your arms. Yep, beautiful. And then exhale, chaturanga, high to low plank. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. we are going to take that on the other side. So we'll start with your left leg high. Same thing, really focus on toes pointing down. And then you can scorpion open your hips. So still trying to keep them level, but you can open them up. Then you'll return back to your three-legged dog, which is just left leg high, and transition into low lunge. Again, take a minute to make this a really active low lunge. So engage through your back hamstring, so much so that your fingertips could almost come off the ground. You're really pushing the ground away through your feet here. And on your next inhale, transition to warrior one. So turn your back heel down. Reach your arms overhead, keep a 90-degree bend in your front knee, and then we'll start talking about the hips. So again, the goal here, which might not be where you're at today, which is fine, is to have your hips totally square to the front of the room, even with this like juxtaposition of the feet, and a 90-degree bend in your front knee. On your next exhale or inhale, transition to warrior two. So take a moment, adapt your stance. Arms come long out to a T. You'll take a tuck in your pelvis here. Nick, if you can demonstrate tuck, yeah. So if you are, come out of it, yeah. So you don't want to be here. You want to tuck your pelvis so that your hips are strong and engaged and supported. And you'll keep this 90-degree bend in your front knee. And then you could start to rotate your knee out towards the pinky edge of your foot to deepen the stretch. That is definitely an up level, so if you're not there today, again, that's fine. On your next inhale, straighten your front leg. We are headed towards triangle pose again on this side. So before anything else, you'll send your hips back, torso forward, keep reaching until you physically can't anymore, and then tick-tock your arms to 6 and 12. You can use your bottom arm to push into your front leg to start to open up your hips a little bit more, start to create a spiral with your rib cage. A small bend in your knee here is fine, it's expected. Safety first, that's great. On your next inhale, come back up to warrior two. Exhale, chaturanga, high low plank. Inhale to your upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, low lunge. Inhale, low lunge twist. So plant your left hand down or, yep. Reach your right arm towards the ceiling. Nick made a great adjustment there, focusing on pushing his left hamstring up. This is similar to an elbow to instep, right? Cool, so you should be familiar with this. On his next exhale, we're going to transition to horizon lunge. So Nick is going to roll onto the pinky edge side of both of his feet. Nope, both of your feet. Yep, so turn this foot down. Nope, like there you go. And start to reach back towards me. So come into, I will demonstrate. So you're here. Rotate onto the pinky edge side of both of your feet, and then you'll reach back. There, amazing. Your hips can stay high, they can drop low. It's really about whatever feels good in your body here. Do you feel this in your hips? Cool. Inhale back to low lunge twist. Exhale, chaturanga, step back to high plank. Take it all the way through to downward facing dog. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, low lunge. Inhale, low lunge twist. You can take a round of breath here. You can float through it again. Just stay consistent with both sides. Take an inhale. Exhale, horizon lunge. Great. So where he was at, actually, if you can re-engage your back leg and keep your front foot down, reach back. If you're feeling that in your hip, you can stay right there. That's a great option if both pinky edge sides of your feet on the mat isn't accessible to you. This is still a great choice as long as you're feeling it in your hips. That's the goal ultimately. We'll transition back to low lunge twist. Re-engage the back leg. Take an inhale. Exhale, chaturanga, high to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We are going to move towards our more restorative part of hips now. So we'll stay in downward facing dog. Also, if you're outside, probably don't want to be on pebbles. On your next inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, half pigeon. So bring your right knee towards your right wrist crease. Your shin towards parallel. Does not have to get there. It's not expected to get there. Walk your hands back to line your hips so you're sitting up tall. You can stay right there, or if you would like to make this less active, more restorative, you can bring your chest towards the mat. You can rest your head on a pillow, on your arms, forearms, melt totally into the mat. Wherever your body can take you is great. You can make some self-adjustments here to get deeper into this. So Nick, if you take your hands onto the sides of your hips, and rotate your left hip down towards the mat. Wonderful. You can kind of play around with this and see where you feel it, where you want to feel it, where you want to experience the stretch. And when you're ready, you can make your way back to downward facing dog before we head to the left side. Shake it out. Yep. Bring some blood flow back. On your next inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, half pigeon. So bring your left knee towards your left wrist crease. Your shin towards parallel. Notice, and I didn't mention this on the other side, so take note of it now, how Nick untucked his back toes. It's really important to protect your knee, hip, everything in alignment. Sit up tall. You can bring your hands by your hips. You can sit as Nick is. You can stay right there, or if you'd like, you can melt down towards the mat to make this less active. His hips look great, but if you wanted to take that small adjustment, if you feel like you're just not getting a great stretch, you might just be, I hesitate to say out of alignment, but with what we're looking for here, your hips just might not be where we want them to be. So you can take that micro adjustment, help yourself out by rotating your right hip down towards the mat. Again, hang out here as long as you'd like, but for the sake of time, we're gonna head back to downward facing dog. Shake your leg out, invite some blood flow back. You can take the scorpion type of position we had with our hips earlier, or you can just wiggle it around, whatever you need. And that is all I have for you guys. Something we missed earlier in class, I flew right through it, was a supine figure 4, which is honestly just a great option if you're looking for something quick and easy and don't want to go through a whole routine. So you'll start lying on your back. Feet can be wherever you want them to be, and what you will do is we'll start with his left leg first. We'll bring your left ankle, that's what that's called, onto your quad, just avoiding your knee here. Try not to have too deep of a bend, so try to avoid being really close to your right hip flexor. The levels of this are going to vary based on how open your hips are. So Nick can stay right here, or he can bring his arms through his left leg, like that little gap there that he has, and grab for his right hamstring. Again, he can stay right here, or if he wants to get even deeper into this, he could kind of like curl up to grab his left leg and do kind of what we call like cradling it. So wrap around your left knee. Yeah, you can stay right there. You can lie back down, whatever feels good for you. And then of course you would transition to the other side. So that's all we have for hips for you guys. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, enjoy it.